Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me for this pregame edition of the show, my buddy, my colleague, my cohort, my pal, my partner in crime, the faithful as ever, been on like every show we've had for like the last month. Mr. B-Dog Brian E. Roach. I'm going to call you B-Dog because you got some ridiculous Mr. T-looking chain going there. What's up, my friend?
I was gonna pretend that I was from Seattle and launch into some bad Eddie Vedder impersonation, or I was gonna do a quote from Lethal Weapon, but that I already did that and made us start over again, so I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah, the whole Joe Pesci, they F you in the drive-through. Yes, bleep it out. But Brian, like we were talking about that off the air, and I'm like, hey, there's things you can't say. You could say we've got some sponsors waiting in the wings. I'll just say that much. We got to keep it clean.
We do?
We do. We might.
We can't talk about them yet?
No.
Okay.
Come on, dude. I'm like giving away things for free. So, no, you can't do that. If they're not signed on the dotted line, you can't do that. But there are many other things we could talk about. Many other things that have happened that have transpired. Yeah. You know what? We were going through the AFC North, the rest of the schedules for the other teams at the end of our last show.
Yes,
and I feel like everything we talked about has just been wiped off the 100%. Slate. 100% since we talked.
Ridiculous.
That was 2-3 days ago. Now, we waited to do this show on a Friday because of the big matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football. And we needed to see what that outcome was because we just didn't want to jibber jabber. Nice Mr. T quote there, too, by the way. Jibber jabber. And
that's good.
Yeah, jibber jabber. And we didn't want to jibber jabber about things that were going to be deemed irrelevant. And we almost got like deemed irrelevant again because we were going to try for earlier in the day, in the morning. And we found out now that, since then, first it was Deshaun Watson going. I didn't think he was going to land on IR. I saw him kind of slumping in that game, against the Ravens. And I wanted to make a comment about the Ravens always playing against backup quarterbacks. And this was supposed to be like finally a good game. Like there was jokes going around the internet. Al Michaels is finally going to have a good Thursday night football game to talk about. And it didn't turn out like so great. Maybe not even the way that we perhaps would have liked it to have turned out.
No, definitely didn't go the way we wanted it to go. We wanted it to go the exact opposite way. We wanted Joe Burrow to be Joe Burrow and to light the Ravens up, and we wanted the Ravens to lose, but they didn't lose because Joe Burrow didn't play much.
Yeah, well, he played, but not very long.
So I said much. You missed the much at the end of my sentence.
Yeah, he attempted 17 passes. He was 11-17 for 101 and a touchdown, and that game pretty much went off the rails after sometime into the second quarter. Cincinnati took a 10-7 lead, and that was it. Baltimore just ran away with it, and now the Ravens are sitting at 8-3 atop the AFC North, and the Steelers got to play catch-up. They got some AFC North games coming up here in the next 2 weeks, both on the road, starting up here with this Week 11 matchup this Sunday. Cleveland Browns Stadium no longer has a fancy sponsor. See, they can't just call it like First Energy now because First Energy doesn't pay for those rights. They probably
let's be real. They could say this is still First Energy Stadium, and First Energy would be like, well, thank you very much, City of Cleveland Municipal Stadium, whatever you're called, for free publicity. They could call it the Steel City Underground Podcast Stadium if they wanted to, and that would be okay.
Let's slow. No, it would not be okay. I don't want my name slapped on that orange and brown disaster mistake on the Lake Stadium. I may be a little biased against Cleveland Browns. I may even hate them. If you heard, who was that did the bit on the fan in Pittsburgh about hating the Baltimore Ravens? They hate the Ravens. They hate Edgar Allan Poe. They hate Old Bay seasoning. Like I could do the same thing with Cleveland. But look, people still call it Heinz Field, and it's not Heinz anymore. Like there's still Heinz branding around. What are you scuttlebutting about over there for? What's going on?
You said a little. I'm desperately looking for my sarcasm.
Your
sign, and I don't know where it is, so I can't show it. Oh, it's very, very disturbing to me.
Yeah, the Browns make
sarcasm.
me say swear word, sarcasm. Like, we need like a graphic like the Maths with Brian, maybe. This guy can get a still so he can put it whenever. Sarcasm. That's not sarcasm. I have some like legitimate gripes with the Browns. They're fans. They talk like the most ridiculous anything and everything. The Cincinnati fans were getting quite delusional there for a minute too. Now their season's pretty much done. You had a good comment off air about that because you said that's unfortunate now that if they have like a losing record.
What if Cleveland loses, 8, 9, 10 games somehow? What if they have a losing record? What if they have a top 12 pick? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I forgot. You gave them all away for the guy who went on injured reserve. Never mind.
Yeah. Watson's hurt, but the Bengals, that would benefit them. That was the same thing when Burrow got hurt his rookie year, and then they were able to draft what? Jamar Chase was like sixth overall or whatever. So, yeah, not necessarily. I don't grovel in. It's like costume change every time we've like flip here. How many hats you got sitting there? I'm going to start doing that, but I have to take the headset off.
I had 4. This is my last one, so I don't have any more after this. Plus, these are making my head sweaty, so I'm not going to really keep wearing them.
I know what that's like. The old, don't have a whole lot in between there. That one's probably pretty itchy too. Like the last 2, like just make your scalp just.
Well, this one's very fuzzy. It's like this. I wear this one to the games a lot because it's like this. You know what this hat is? You've seen Uncle Buck, right?
Oh yeah.
This hat angers people. That's what this hat is. This hat makes people angry. But
it's like one of those fuzzy, like for anybody that's just listening, like it is the Uncle Buck hat. It's like almost like a Bolshevik or something. Anyways. So
my wife was going to buy me a different one of those that wasn't a Steelers one. I said, "Why are you going to buy me that? I already got one of those."
Okay. So now we got Deshaun Watson that's injured. That's relevant for this upcoming game on Sunday. And then the following week, after all of us stuff our faces with mashed potatoes, gravy, turkey, and all of the Thanksgiving delights, then the Steelers travel to Cincinnati, and it'll probably be more than likely Jake Browning under center as the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, with Joe Burrow being placed on IR, which was the news of the day. So
thoughts on the word Browning under center.
That phrase, no, we're not going to go there.
Good.
Save that for next week after we're all hyped up on tryptophan or whatever. The turducken.
Browning under center. And a turducken, yes, is a Browning under center. There you go.
There you go. But yeah, I played off the game. Yeah, the game yesterday. I mean, Joe Mixon had a really crazy first half and everything, and it looked like they were going to compete with the Ravens. And you're kind of looking at the Ravens schedule, and you're like, who's going to take them out? Because you're kind of counting on a little bit of help, and now you're starting to think, could it be a two-horse race here between the Steelers and the Ravens? And the Ravens still haven't had their bye, so they're 8-3. The Steelers are at 6-3. They need to beat Cleveland. That would be another division win. They have a tiebreaker so far with the Ravens. This game could really mean something at the very end of the season when they have to go to Baltimore. But to that point, I was making a comment about the Steelers are getting 2 backup quarterbacks, and everyone's going to now talk their smack because the offense in Pittsburgh it's been better the last 2 games, but overall this season, not able to produce points, not able to sustain drives, etc. Right? And now the defense for the Steelers, they get to face backup quarterbacks. Well, what did the Ravens faced all year with their 8-3 record? So they started out with the Houston Texans, CJ Stroud's first start. They pretty much whomped them. It was 25-9. They played the Bengals with Joe Burrow being injured in that game. He started the season slow. He was not 100%. They lost in overtime to the Colts to Gardner Minshew, who was in for Anthony Richardson. They played the Cleveland Browns and pretty much destroyed them 28-3. Similar situation with Dorian Robinson-Thompson. Did I mess his name up? Yeah, I think I got it right, though. The kid from UCLA, the rookie. And he's going to be starting this Sunday. And when you compare that game with the Browns playing against the Ravens, I don't know that you can because it's 2 different teams and defenses. But AFC North, strong defenses overall, I would say. And Dorian Thompson Robinson, DTR. I got to remember that. Just DTR, right? He was not sharp for a first start. And 19 to 36, 121 yards. He got picked 3 times, sacked another 4 times. He had a 25.3 rating. He also didn't get any practice time whatsoever being thrown in that game, and that's why Kevin Stefanski, head coach of the Cleveland Browns, who was 2-5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers all time, by the way, he pulled him and put in PJ Walker instead, going forward until, Deshaun's healthy. Deshaun's not healthy. Now he's completely on the bench. Sorry, you were all in this year, and he's going to cost you, what, $63 or $64 million in cap hits over the next 3 seasons? Hate to see it happen. I'm not like living like on the high horse saying, oh, all these guys got hurt. That makes me very happy. But you could only talk about the teams or what's put forth in front of you, right? So from here forward, looks like Dorian Thompson Robinson. Very much a law firm type name, almost like the Ben Jarvis.
I'm just going to call him a picture of Dorian Gray.
No, don't do that. Dorian Gray. Dorian.
That's a guy who got younger because his picture got older.
Whatever, dude. We don't need that.
All right.
I'm not doing that. That sounds silly.
Trying to throw a little culture and class into the show.
Yeah.
You're messing me up.
Culture and class. Well, culture and class.
Huge mistake.
The rest of this Ravens schedule to date, so they played that with the Browns. They lost to the Steelers, with Kenny Pickett. The Tennessee Titans had Malik Willis play about a half of football, if you even call the half that Ryan Tannehill played, 8 of 16, 76 yards, a pick, a couple of sacks at a 37.5 rating against the Ravens there. Yet another game where the Ravens, what I'm basically saying is that they could be and maybe should be called frauds. They beat the tar out of the Detroit Lions at home. That was a legitimate one people were looking forward to, and the Lions just, crap the bed completely. I'll give them that one. They played in Arizona against Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals. Josh Dobbs isn't even there anymore. They hosted Seattle. They had a 1:00 game against the West Coast team at home and played Geno Smith. They whomped them. Then they lost to Cleveland last week, and Deshaun Watson and his gimp arm had a much better second half than first half. And Cleveland, they're all talking about, well, are they cursed, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, Baltimore then gets like Jake Browning for like about almost 3/4 of football last night. So that's what the Ravens look like. Going forward, they got to play a primetime game. We talked about this before. A primetime game against the Chargers. They have a bye week. They host the Rams, another 1:00 against a West Coast team. Then they go to Jacksonville in primetime, at San Francisco primetime, host the Dolphins, host the Steelers. It's a much tougher schedule provided. Jacksonville right now, Trevor Lawrence hasn't been so hot. He's been turning over the ball. He's been injured, et cetera, et cetera. I continue to kind of forget about this in the comparison scheme of things of Kenny and his projection and growth. Trevor Lawrence, a bona fide, number 1 overall guy. And there wasn't a single person that's going to think, well, Trevor Lawrence isn't going to translate to pro success. It takes some time. And he's been kind of gutting out some injuries. I forgot that Kenny Pickett hurt his knee at one point during this whole thing. Did he have a concussion too, or went into some protocol? But whatever be the case. Mitch Trubisky went in for a game, and Kenny had a bum knee, and then he comes, and we forget because he doesn't miss any weeks, right? He doesn't miss any other additional time, hurts his ribs, doesn't miss any additional time. Is he 100%? We don't really have answers for that at this point. Does that hinder him? Is that making excuses for them? Yeah, sure, it's making excuses for him. I'm trying to figure out why some throws are on, some throws are off. But what it boils down to is as long as Kenny Pickett can play mistake-free football against this Cleveland Browns defense, which has drastically improved because of Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator, give the credit where it is due, and a couple other dudes added. We mentioned before Zadarius Smith on that defensive line. Then the Steelers should be able to go into Cleveland, and they should be able to come out with another division, another conference victory, and keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens, and they should be able to hopefully continue this momentum on through the next several games.
All of the things you said, I think, are correct. I will caution it with, it's AFC North football. It's AFC North football that's on the road. Anything can happen. I don't care that picture of Dorian Gray or Dorian Joseph Johnson, whatever his name is. And even if he beats us, I'm not going to respect him. So it doesn't matter. You can be mad at me for not pronouncing his name right or whatever. I don't care. It does throw it all out the window. It's AFC North football. Anything can happen. right now, I would say that the odds makers probably should be favoring the Steelers. If you look this stat up, because I saw it someplace.
Okay, let me know.
TJ Watt is something like 9-1 against the Steelers when he plays.
Yeah, I got it somewhere. Hold on one second. I had that one actually pulled aside. 9-1-1 against Cleveland in games.
9-1-1
plays. 16 sacks in 11 games.
Make of that what you will. He's healthy and will be playing.
Also, Brian, backup tackles.
Yes, they have backup tackles on both sides potentially. They will have a backup tackle on the side that TJ is on because the Ohio State guy is hurt. That they got, and I can't remember his name.
DeWan Jones.
He's dead to me. Doesn't matter.
He is dead to me. Remember the guy wasn't supposed to be interested in playing football at all, and then all of a sudden he goes to Cleveland and he's going to play. He's going to be good. Like that just throw up in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't care. Anyway, he's hurt. He's not playing. So you got TJ. I know that they will do some things because everybody's been doing some things to try and prevent TJ from wrecking games. If you watch and focus on TJ Watt's side of the ball, it's not one guy. It's oftentimes not two guys. It's often three guys that are in line to chip, prevent, block. When he gets past one, there's another one. When he gets past that one, there's another one. So it's unlikely that this backup tackle is going to be the only guy on TJ. Alex Highsmith needs to have a nice game. I think Keanu Benton could have a nice game. If we can pressure this young quarterback, yes, we should be able to get out of Cleveland with a win. We should then be able to get out. I know we're jumping ahead here. We should then be able to get out of Cincinnati with a win because it's the same circumstance. You got an offensive line that doesn't look that good, and now not young. That Browning guy's been around, for a while, but an untested quarterback because until yesterday he hadn't played a single snap in the NFL, even though he'd been around. And so we, 2 games that we were hopeful we could split, and we could have actually dumped both of them, right? Because they're both on the road. They're both division games. It looks more like we could come out of them being 8-3. I need some wood to knock on. Then 7-4, or even worse, 6-5. There's maths with Brian.
We can.
I did maths. I have to throw it up there. Maths with Brian.
Sorry, I actually had the.
But it's too late. It's past now. The moment is past. If we do some other maths with Brian, we'll put it up. Anyway. There you go. Okay. Maths with Brian. If they win 2 games, 2 + 6 is 8. There you go. But that also leads into that next series of games, which is like the Cardinals, the Colts, and the Patriots, none of which are very good teams. You're now looking at a scenario where this team could conceivably be 11-3 at the end of that.
We originally picked the Steelers 13-3 and said that's impossible. And I still think it's improbable.
Well, the thing is now you have to now think the Steelers can sweep the Bengals. Okay. No Joe Burrow. Yes, Jamar Chase is still there. Yes, they've got a good receiving core. Yes, they've got other players around this quarterback, but it ain't Joe Burrow. And so you have to think there's a shot the Steelers can sweep the Bengals, which we had flipped the other way. We were like split. Or because I tend to be a little negative about the Bengals when Joe Burrow's there because we had been getting walloped except for that first game last year. Where I was like, no, they'll lose both those games. Well, that part of that script has flipped, right? I can still see the Seattle game being a loss. I can still see the Baltimore game in Baltimore potentially being a loss. But if that's the only division game that they lose, is that Baltimore game? And I think Baltimore can easily lose 3 games the rest of the season. Their schedule's not that bad, but there are 3 tougher opponents on there. Just throw the Dolphins, the 49ers, and somebody else on there, and there's maybe 3 losses.
Jaguars.
There is a very good chance, unless the Steelers, make caca in the bed over the next 2 games, they could win this division.
Yeah. So, Brian, what throws the monkey wrench into that is you got the Steelers defense against a rookie quarterback, but a Steelers defense that's going to be without Minkah Fitzpatrick and Keanu O'Neal. your starting safeties for this game. And I was talking about before.
That's rough.
Yeah, it's like, who do you throw out there, like Elijah Riley or why can't I can never think of his name. Give me a second. It's Thompson. I can't think of his name.
Justin Tucker. No, wait, that's a kicker.
That's not even the same team.
I know. I'm just making up names because I know that I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't
Travis Thompson. Trevor Jones.
I mean, there's Miles Killebrew, but Miles Killebrew isn't the kind of dude.
Miles Killebrew is a special teamer. Please don't make him be a starter.
A special teamer, and that is it. And we got to find the safeties. Why can't I think of him? Because he's on the practice squad, is he not? Because Elijah Riley's actually on the 53-man roster and is probably due to start. I would be my my guesstimation. Let's see. There's Jalen Elliott, who's on the practice squad too. And why am I not finding who I am looking for here, man? He just played, unless he was just released, which is Trenton Thompson, because they have him listed under DB.
Trenton Thompson.
Why do they do that in DB? Like, you're throwing me off.
It's a Swiss Army knife, guys. DeMonte Casey's probably listed as a DB.
No, he's listed as a safety.
Okay.
Well, actually, nobody on the 53 is actually listed as just DB, believe it or not. So there's plenty of DTs and DEs, no DBs.
Except for Trenton Thompson now.
Trenton Thompson, but he's down on the practice squad part of not on the top end 53-man roster. But it hurts not having Minka out there.
I'm confused now. How did he play last week then?
They elevated him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, elevated
him.
But
then they de-elevated him?
No, they don't. They don't levitate. They don't gravitate. They don't agitate. Well, you do, but anyways, DeJuan Jones has an opportunity to play. He's questionable. Originally, when we were heading into this show, before we just got the injury report, there was Minka and Neil were both maybe game time decisions. So let's. I had it up. Let me take a look at the injury report and see if the Steelers have it fully updated here. They also have the Browns one updated, so we can play along. This is play along with Joe. So Deontay Johnson was back off of this thing the last 2 days as a full participant, and Patrick Peterson had a day of rest earlier in the week. Keanu O'Neal is he's ruled out. Fitzpatrick ruled out. I believe Montravius Adams was already ruled out earlier in the week. Isaac Suamalo had a day of rest. Pat Freiermuth has been activated, correct? Completely activated now. Yes. I will.
No, I thought he's activated, but he's not off the IR yet.
Hold on a second.
That's the last I thought I heard.
Yeah, okay. Not 100%, so they still need a spot for him, right? Because they had re-signed, they had waived Braden Fehoko, and then they had re-signed him to the practice squad shortly thereafter, along with Tyler Murray, a linebacker. So the Steelers have their own problems. And a rookie quarterback, of which they probably have little tape on, a mobile quarterback, a guy that's playing with house money. Hopefully they don't make him look like the second coming of like Dan Marino or Joe Montana or somebody like that, right? Because who knows what's going on at inside linebacker? Who knows what's going on in that secondary? You already have enough issues where, Patrick Peterson had a hell of a game last week, but do you trust Levi Wallace? Are you going to play James Pierre? You got to throw Darius Rush out there. You've got Joey Porter Jr., and that's about it. And he'll be made to look silly playing these different zones if people aren't picking up their guy as somebody like goes from zone to zone or makes a switch or anything like that. We saw Mike Tomlin, however, beat Tom Brady last year with guys they just pulled right off the street. And that's about the only promising thing I could say about that. And you're probably pulling you've got a Landon Roberts, you got Mark Robinson. They're not really cover guys, but is Cleveland going to throw the football? There was a caller in on one of the XM shows with Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin during the week that said the Browns should just punt on second and third down. And they're laughing because this was how'd they not screen this caller? Because it just sounded ridiculous. But he was that terrified, and he said, we'll just have the Browns defense play all the time.
Was it Bubby Brister?
No.
Because, Bubby famously said when asked about the offense at the time, we should just punt on first down.
And I don't think anybody's going to do that. Just let the defense just continually play. It's like you can at least choose some clock. So that means heavy doses of Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford getting more carries. I know Kareem Hunt's the fancy Cadillac kind of brand name, you know what I mean? But Jerome Ford, for all intents and purposes, is the guy in Cleveland that's been getting the bulk of the carries, and Kareem Hunt kind of puts the icing on the cake, so to speak. He's the one that gets a little more of the glory when it comes to the end zone, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a team that's built to run the football, provided they have their tackles. Their offensive line and having a different quarterback out there is a little bit of a problem. And being successful at the run will end up setting up things for the pass. But can the Steelers be successful against the run as a defense? We've seen it with Devin Bush. We saw it with Miles Jack. We saw it with Robert Spillane. Those guys weren't really good at stopping much of anything last year. And now you're down Quan Alexander and Cole Holcomb for the season. It's the thing that really makes my gut sick, knowing that Minkah Fitzpatrick is the kind of guy who fills in those gaps, he's the intangible of just having Minkah, let alone him being the tackling machine in the last line of defense. It does concern me. You're playing the game in Cleveland, and we still don't know offensively as a team how the Steelers might be. Do they take the ball first? Are they able to choose some clock? Can they run the football successfully with Jaylen Warren, now named as the starter over Najee Harris? Can they do the same kind of things that Cleveland might do and not have to rely on their quarterback or either team's quarterback throwing the ball probably more than 20 to 25 times?
Look, it's going to be a challenge. This is a better defense, obviously than what they've run against the last 2 weeks. The Packers had a decent defensive line, but it's not Cleveland's defensive line. If they can, this is the test of if they can run the ball this week consistently, then I think they've started to find or have found their identity. Right. If Broderick Jones makes a difference in this game the way he has in the last two, and the run game is impactful and consistent and is providing spark, I think they will have found their mojo to a certain extent. Does not alleviate the issues with Kenny. It doesn't alleviate the issues with the passing game. It doesn't alleviate the fact that they, for some reason, other than the play to George Pickens, which I said they were going to do, I'm like, they're going to shock everybody and throw a ball over the middle to Pickens, except that, there was a penalty. Other than that one, they refused to ever throw the ball in the middle of the field. I don't know why. But, all those things make it so that, if they can do that, it's a bigger challenge. I guess what I'm saying is I will be more of a believer in this run game if they can run the ball during this game Sunday. It will not surprise me if they can't consistently. It's a better defensive line.
Yeah, better defensive line. And let's talk about that too. Dan Moore Jr. has had his fair share of success against Myles Garrett. He's balling him up. Now you've got Broderick Jones out there. So the Steelers got a little bit of a different look. Again, like I said, expecting to have Pat Freiermuth back in the fold as well. Might help some different things with the pass game. You've got Deontay Johnson that's finally been back. You've got George Pickens. You got your full complement. So we expect to see some more things, but we don't expect it because we got some respect for the Browns defense as well. This could be your back and forth, low scoring AFC North football game. Cleveland Browns are also missing, by the way. Juan Thornhill did not practice this week. That's one of their starting free safety. So they're down another player in that regard, and we'll see how that affects them on the back end of their defense too. You mentioned the penalty, the George Pickens play. Did you think that was really a penalty? It did the flag came out super late. I'm going to be honest
with you. I don't think it's a penalty. I don't think he even intentionally ran into the guy. I don't think he even saw him, right? I think he's trying to run his route and it just hit the guy. Is it technically a penalty?
Probably.
Yes.
Probably
it is. Is it one that gets called all the time? No.
Very.
But,
yeah, that's the problem. Inconsistency in the NFL.
What everybody knows. I have a freaking GIF that tells you what I think of the refs. All I have ever asked for is one thing: be consistent. Let the players understand what the actual rules are, or at least the way you're going to govern the rules, right? And if you do that, everybody shuts up. You don't, well, okay, let's be fair. They're not going to shut up. No matter what you call, it was in the Ravens game just as much as it in any other game. If you call a penalty against our team, we're going to boo you because you're clearly wrong and you suck, right? Not always, but that's the way that fans are going to feel. So we're not going to stop booing you, even if you're consistent. But at least the players will understand, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. Right now, half the time, it's just far too ambiguous.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, against the Ravens, the Cleveland Browns gave up 4 sacks. Deshaun Watson was sacked 4 times, lost 18 yards. He also threw a pick in that game as well. And as we were alluding to earlier, Jerome Ford's the guy, 107 yards on 17 carries, a 6.3 average, where Kareem Hunt, who had the touchdown, 10 carries, 32 yards, a 3.2 average. The leading receiver on 6 receptions was Amari Cooper for 98 yards. I think they're going to, the key to this game is going to be probably David Njoku, who we joke about with that big contract enough, but Njoku, 6 catches for 58 yards, and they might be ripe in the middle of the field with guys like a Landon Roberts, Mark Robinson. You don't even have Keanu Neal to be a tweener there to kind of play like in between. I don't know what you do. Do you play Levi Wallace and you have Patrick Peterson kind of floating around as one of the safeties next to DeMonte Casey?
What I think you're going to do.
That's going to have to be. Now we get a taste to see, is this really what P2 is going to be doing? Because you got Shannon Sullivan, so you at least got a guy who can play as a nickel or slot corner. I mean, you got to kind of have all hands on deck as best as you can. And Peterson's been kind of floating around in that role as they disguise their defenses or try and play something that resembles a 3 safety kind of look. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. I had another. Oh, that was the point. The officiating, Sean Hockley's crew. I think this came from Dale Lawley. Let me see if I can find it real quick. He had mentioned that I think Hockley's crew, this is the old man's son, what was his first name? Ed Hockley. Ugh. He just a chip off the old block. Like, I think 31 penalties so far for holding is what this crew is called through the season. Let me see. Dale Lawley is also the one we can attribute.
They will call not a single one on the Browns offensive line.
Oh, that's going to happen even with guys. How many false starts have you seen this season up against TJ Watt, where these guys are just like stutter stepping? Like
it's not even a half a step, right? You can let them get away with the half step. It's when they take 2 full steps and it's not called that you kind of go, okay, what's up with that?
Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, Dale Lawley, who covers the Steelers and works for the Steelers, and he could also be attributed for the 9-1-1 statistic too. He had posted that earlier. And that's exactly, we know Joey Bag of Donuts. You've seen him on Twitter. He had the first comment on this too. So Lawley says, buckle up and expect to see a lot of things you don't usually see. Hockley's crew is working Steelers Browns crew loves its holding penalties. They've called 31 this season. And Joey says, yet somehow all the times they hold TJ Watt won't get called. But somehow Dan Moore or Broderick Jones will probably be called for a holding against Zadarius Smith or Myles Garrett. It's another one of those games where they're going to be comparing these two as they still enter their 100 games played in the NFL, and both of these guys are racking up Hall of Fame type careers and statistics, piling on the accolades over the amount of time. So I hate mentioning the referees each and every week, but it seems like there's something in every game that it's not just the Steelers thing. It is every game where there's something that's a deciding factor, and it's going to be rather ugly. What I don't want to see, Brian, is if you're going to call some type, the quarterback stuff, the roughing the quarterback, the roughing the passer, those have been the ones.
Yeah.
Kenny gets his leg taken out from his leg or something like that. It doesn't get called. And Keanu Neal makes that other one. It's about, textbook. Even if you were playing flag football, he's got the guy around the skirt and they throw a flag for it. So with a rookie quarterback and a guy who can move around like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I just don't want to see those type of fouls called in this game. I'm hoping this is the one where, you've got somebody that's a second generation NFL referee that's been doing this for several years and is leading this crew, that they're put on this game. Thankfully, it's not Clete Blakeman. Thankfully, it's not John Hussey. Like, some of these crews have been really bad, like historically bad over the years. Hopefully that this is the crew assigned, so they just kind of keep the peace and just let them play their game. That's all I'm asking for here.
Again, just some level of consistency. If you're going to call it one way, call it that way throughout the whole game. If you're not going to call it that way, if you're going to call it a different way, call it consistently that way throughout the whole game. If a roughing call is called on one quarterback and the exact same hit is done on another quarterback, call the roughing penalty. There shouldn't be any variance in that level of consistency. This is not even me asking them to actually understand the rules, right? I don't even care that they don't actually understand the rules. Just misunderstand them the same way.
Yep, I'm totally with you there. Somebody goofed on the Steelers. I was going to start going into like the historical stuff, right? Yeah, I'm actually going to pull this up. Let's see if they actually.
That's just mean. That's just mean. Don't stat shame the Steelers person.
I don't know. Somebody in their PR department, they got the all-time, the last time the Browns won on September 18th, 2023. That's news to me. Like, did that happen? Is that real?
Yeah,
is that
that's
reality?
A mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Here's what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened there. Somebody's a Browns fan in the Steelers press room.
One of the interns. He's like a spy.
Yeah, he's a spy. He's in there.
That's
he's like,
early. Yeah, I mean, that's a Steelers. That's a Steelers. Another Pittsburgh Steelers first down. Well, we didn't hear that a whole lot in the beginning of the season, so hopefully, they can sustain some drives. Just going by the statistics, Kenny Pickett is the passing leader for the Steelers, 1,616 yards this season and 6 touchdowns. George Pickens leads with 33 receptions, 566 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Najee Harris, the leading rusher, 464 yards and 3 touchdowns. Their counterparts, I won't mention Watson since he's not playing, but Amari Cooper has 715 yards receiving on 41 catches. He has 2 touchdown receptions. Jerome Ford, 532 yards and 2 touchdowns. Of course, he is a backup since the Browns are down Nick Chubb, who got hurt in the first encounter during week 2. The Steelers are 2-1 on the road. The Browns are 4-1 at home thus far this season. Both teams are 5-3-1 against the spread, so that's pretty interesting too. Steelers are 26th in points scored per game. The Browns are 11th with 23.8. Steelers only at 17.3 still. They give up 20.2 points per game, which, when you're only scoring about 17 and giving up 20, Brian, how is this team 6-3? And the Browns are giving up only 18.9, about 19 points per game, but scoring 24. That is good for 6th, by the way, in the league. The takeaway differential, though, is what tells the tale. The Steelers are tied for first with a +10 differential. The Browns have been giving up the ball quite a bit. They're a -4, which is down for 24th in the NFL. The pass and rush games for these teams, the Steelers are 29th and 20th, where the Browns are 25th and 2nd. So you can't expect them to run the ball. They were doing it anyways. They did not have Watson all the time, or a healthy Watson, so that's understandable. They are first defensively against the pass in the NFL and 7th against the run, where the Steelers have been giving up gobs of yards, more opportunistic taking the ball away, as they're 27th against the pass and 25th against the run, and missing some of their starters on defense. So just by looking at paper, the Steelers been getting, I think, 6 red zone turnovers is the number that I saw floated around. Don't know who to attribute that to, but just letting you know, Mike Tomlin. Yeah, somebody did not update this at all. Let me see. He's 20. Here we go. Mike Tomlin is 26-6-1 all time against the Cleveland Browns. So he's been rather successful. Whereas I said earlier, Kevin Stefanski is 2-5. We also have the neat little map. This is the game to watch in the 1:00 window on Sunday on CBS. Locally, it's KDKA television in Pittsburgh, or you could also stream this on Paramount Plus if you have the premium package or whatever they call that. But pretty much anywhere throughout the Midwest, up into the Northeast and parts of the South, unless you're in parts of Florida, Tennessee, or the Tennessee and Indianapolis markets, Texas, Denver, California, and out in Arizona, you'll have to have Sunday Ticket or some other means of watching this game. So there's the coverage map, courtesy of 506sports.com. And, of course, the Steelers app and NFL Plus. You get it if that's your local game as well. I think that pretty much
that map for a second.
Yeah, put it out on there.
All right, let's go look at the hell is that state above Denver? That's Wyoming.
No, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the deal with the break? And like, okay, this whole area down here, we're gonna have a little section that is not Denver Broncos fans.
And it's not even a Denver Broncos game. That game is actually the Raiders at the Miami Dolphins.
Well, who the hell cares about that game out there? I guess, I mean,
because Nevada is like two states away, I guess, and that's like the new broadcasting territory or whatever.
But still, there's just this little rectangle in Wyoming of like, and by the way, there's not anything in Wyoming. I was there. It's empty. There's some buffalo, I guess, but that's about it. So that section that is going to be that game, I just am very interested and curious as to why that little rectangle is pulled out and gone, this is the Raiders-Dolphins game right here.
I don't know, man.
These buffalo and cows and deers and other animals, they're Raiders fans.
Oh, man. If you're interested in listening to the game and you want to on Sirius XM, the Steelers are on Sirius 138, XM 382, 826 on the internet. The Browns calls are on 82, 228, and 807. Locally, that's 102.5 WDVE FM out of Pittsburgh and 970 WBGG AM out of Pittsburgh. There's a whole bunch of affiliates. You can find those on Steelers.com or SteelCityUnderground.com for that matter, if you prefer to hear Bill Hillgrove and Craig Wolfley with Max Starks and Missy Matthews. Also, the same crew calling the game for CBS this week. Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn once again. So I've been enjoying them a little bit more. It's been better than having to listen to Chris Collinsworthless or somebody like that when you've got the NBC games. Yeah.
Every time he says one of the catchphrases that he says in Madden, though, it's very distracting to me.
I totally agree. I know. I'm like, is this real life? And let me put it this way. Charles Davis really knows his stuff. I enjoy him. He's really, really, really into like the draft process and knowing all these players, where they come from. He's like the next Gil Brandt. If he lives to be like 90, he's like the Godfather Part 2 would be my summation of Charles Davis. So I do like him. Ian Eagle's a little bland for my tastes, but it makes up for it. At least you don't have like who's the guy who was the tight end for Greg Olsen that used to be the tight end for the Panthers.
You know what I'm sick of?
He's rough. Yeah.
I'm sick of the JK all day guy. That was his thing. Now it's Magnificent Marvin or whatever he's calling Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm sick of that guy.
Oh, who's doing that on the college football? That's the Fox Sports Big Noon guy.
I don't want to.
Who is that?
Watch him anymore. I don't. I was down with him. I thought he was fun, and now it's annoying because he keeps even like the guy he just show a picture of him. He's like marvelous Marvin Harrison or whatever the hell is. It's annoying.
I agree with you, my friend. I think we've tackled all of the topics for this game, and here we go. I mean, the Steelers historically have success against Cleveland Browns, but it is a road game. It is Kenny Pickett in the Steelers offense, along with Matt Canada. I say this. Look,
you're like, it's a road game and it's Kenny Pickett. That was the quintessential way to sum up this season so far. And it just made me laugh. I'm sorry. That was funny.
I don't want to say that.
I know you don't mean like negatively. I get that. But it's just the way it came out, my friend.
I've never had the biggest hopes for first round quarterbacks within the first 3 seasons of their NFL careers. And even when they do have big games, what has happened to Will? What on earth are you doing over there? You're tearing everything apart. There's always noises emanating from this guy's domain. Whether it's
is that what they call them now? Noises emanating from my domain.
Yes. Oh, you made me lose my train of thought. But the first round quarterback thing, what happened to Will Levis all of a sudden? Everybody was crowning him, right? Like a couple weeks ago, and he's quietly
his denim faded.
Quietly rode out into the sunset. But we don't have to belabor those things.
Rivets on his denim came undone.
I was trying to figure out. I cannot remember who used to say that. The JK all day. I could find some replays of it, but come on, somebody tell me who the hell was the color guy that was saying that? I'm drawing a blank. I keep wanting to say RG3, but RG3 isn't doing game days, is he?
No, it's and I'm not even sure it's the color guy. I think it's not the color guy that says it. It's the
it could be.
It's the other guy, because Todd Blackledge is the color guy, isn't he?
I believe so.
And he's just anti-Ohio State to begin with because he played at Penn State. So screw you, Todd Blackledge.
Up
there. You weren't looking, so you're gonna have to edit
Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt.
Johnson.
So it's that. Yeah, that's our guys. I'm almost 100%. So those are the lead guys.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So
all I know is I was with it for a while, and now it's too much. And he said it like 19 times in a minute and a half, and it just was like, no, okay, that's too much.
Yeah, because it's not like, you have like Matt Leinart and Urban Meyer and those guys, but those are usually the guys that are like the booth guys, they're
in the booth.
The booth and,
it's like
the
that
halftime show and stuff.
It's like that Kevin Hart and Fitzpatrick commercial where he's like, too much magic, right? It's just too much Marvin Harrison things that he said. It's just too much.
Yeah.
And I love Marvin Harrison Jr. and I, wish that we were going to be able to draft him, but we're not.
Dude, you're putting it in a totally bad spot when we're talking about the Bengals maybe being within earshot of a top 10 pick.
It's very upsetting to me.
Higgins,
yes, I don't.
Being in contract type talks. Yeah, don't please don't put that in the universe. Okay, folks, that's it for us because I'm not talking draft. It's November. I won't talk draft until it's like March of next year. It's just you've got people already like putting Kool-Aid McKinstry or whatever like in the top whatever, and Caleb Williams and everything else. It's like Caleb Williams is like one thing, but you're also trying to predict where teams finish in November to know what their draft position is and then who or what their needs are going to be before there's even free agency. It's just ridiculous.
Who has the Browns pick? Is it Houston that has the Browns
pick?
Pick?
Houston has it for Deshaun Watson.
I'm just telling you right there. That's CJ is getting Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Oh, buddy, that could be. I mean, there's been a couple pairings like that over the last few years. I mean, it's not really that hot of a take. If they're within shot of taking that. I'm trying to find, before I was going to find.
Here, I'll give you a hot take. You ready for a hot take?
Injured reserve. I had to find him on hot. It wasn't so much a hot take. It was just, I got to say it just for the audio folks, the audio only folks, but I'm going to show you a contract on the screen. Can you guess whose contract this is?
Let's see.
I've rubbed it out a little bit. Oh, it's definitely cap number next year, 64, cap number 2025, 64, cap number 2026, 64. If they add void years, they can't get rid of it. It means that void year means he becomes a free agent after the 2026 season. Yeah, could this go down as one of the worst trades of all time? What if DTR actually plays well? What did they do with this? Nobody's going to trade for a guy who has all this dead money.
You're like, stuck
it's
with
all it's fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like this is money that's bonused and it shows up in those void years and Cleveland is going to absorb that. So then you get a guy that was signed for, $230 million, but over 3 years, you only owe him like 80, for example, or something like that. And it's like, oh, well, they'll trade and get it there. And oh man, that's rough.
It was a bad deal. It was a bad trade. We said it was a bad trade when they made the trade. We said it stank of desperation. It did.
Let me ask you this question. Was there ever a time that you and I said we wanted Deshaun Watson?
Never. Not once.
Okay. I didn't think so. I know I didn't. Let me ask you another question. How many teams were ultimately up in this decision at the very end? And did we think that Cleveland was the front runner at any point to get Deshaun Watson? Because some people are trying to change the narrative into he was this highly, with all of his 24, 26 allegations, that he was this highly sought after commodity that Houston couldn't even trade the year before.
I don't believe that anybody, look, they made a big stink about this in the Bengals-Ravens game. Oh, how could you let Lamar go? Again, you didn't draft him, and then you didn't take him as a free agent. Nobody was giving up 2 first-round draft picks for him, especially to give him that kind of guaranteed money. These are not good deals for the franchises that are making them, right? I get that Lamar. They're stuck. Yeah, and that's
Lamar without off-field problems, just injury concern maybe.
But even then, he's coming off a second season in a row where he couldn't finish the season, right? So you forget the talent level, right? It's just a bad choice to make because you're giving up a lot of your future by giving up those draft picks, plus then you're going to have to tie up a huge chunk of your cap in a guy that you don't even you don't know that you can count on. So it wasn't, how do you let those people pass? Because it's a bad business decision, and these guys are all business decision guys, right? Even the guys who are desperate for a quarterback are like, well, I'm not giving you my top. There's quarterbacks coming out that are going to be pretty good, I think, and I'll take that spin. You know what I mean? I'll roll those dice before I just give up everything for this guy who, yes, I know is very good, but I can't really swear that he's going to be good for us, right? And when Deshaun Watson, nobody was heavily picking at that carcass, so to speak, at the time. And when the Browns did it, we're all like, what? They did what?
Yeah, that was that's the reaction I had. I was like, I didn't even know they were in the mix. Because they were talking about how Cleveland's not really a free agency destination. You know what I mean? Right. That's why they went and traded for Dustin Hopkins, the kicker that they did, who should be mentioned. I mean, he's solid, and he's going to be able to kick in the 50-yard range. They have missed. There are swirling winds at Cleveland Browns Stadium, so special teams could play a bigger role. We haven't talked about it whatsoever. It could play a huge role in this game, particularly if both offenses struggle and it's a defensive-minded game that we believe it will be. The only thing I didn't pick up was the over-under on this, and I'm going to do that before we sign off here. But yeah, that was my whole point, because there were people who were talking about, like, Deshaun Watson, this, that, and the other thing, and I can remember that the Dolphins were in on it. There was all this talk about whether Tua was the guy and whether they were going to make that play.
The question is, were they, right?
I don't know.
Everybody talked and because the same thing happened with Lamar. This team should definitely be interested, and then to the point where they came out and went, no, we really aren't interested.
Rumors.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, was it just rumors, or were they?
I don't know that there was ever legitimate interest until the Browns just went, we got to take him. Baker's not the guy. We know that now. Oh, we have to get it. We have to take Deshaun Watson. It's going to be amazing. For a guy that hadn't played in a year plus, right? Almost 2 years, and had difficult allegations against him. And, it was so bad. It was so bad, but whatever. They did that, and they have to live with those consequences from that. And it is what it is. But, I said I was going to give you a hot take. You ready for the hot take I was going to give you?
Well, hold on 1 second. I did find the teams that Watson, he had to waive a no-trade clause, too. So he met with the Falcons, Saints, and the Panthers. So those were the 3 teams. But the people, there's some revisionist history out there where people were trying to say, oh, all these teams were interested in him. And it's there's 32 NFL teams. There's the team that had him that was not interested in him anymore. That's why they're getting rid of him. So there were literally 4. It was 4 teams, and they had to give the guy fully guaranteed money in order to get him to go to Cleveland. Yeah, and now look at it. He didn't play a full season last year. He's not going to play a full season this year, and he didn't play full season the previous 1 or 2 before. He does not have a whole lot of football, and you got to play. And it's just going to kind of that ship's going to sail. The train's leaving the station.
That ship sailed.
Yeah. Okay, Brian.
Let's be realistic.
Hot take. We're going to wrap with the odds. I'm going to give you the line for this game too.
Steelers are going to win their division, and they're going to have a bye in the playoffs.
Man, that would be. So you think that the AFC West will cannibalize itself to where Kansas City isn't the top team? The same thing with it could happen in the East too, obviously. And Buffalo's floundering a little bit. The Jets have a tough enough defense. Patriots could be a surprise. They still got a coach there that might be able to get them to turn around a little bit.
Forget it now. Forget the Patriots.
Yeah,
Patriots.
I mean, I'm sad to see it. There's actually...
I'm gonna be upset when Doughboy beats us, but it's annoying.
No, that's not happening. That's not going to happen. If anything, it's going to be Bailey Zappi in there by that point. So I don't know that he lasts much longer. They're going to be in a position to look for somebody else. They just bring Jimmy G back, maybe. Get Josh.
That's my hot take.
Okay. Well, do you take the over-under on the Browns-Steelers game this week? 32.5.
Man.
Woo.
Woo. That's not a lot of points.
That's spicy.
32. I mean, let's be honest. The Ravens and the Bengals didn't put up 32.5. It was what, 20-10? Or was it 30-20?
No. The game last night, was like 34 to something or other. Yeah, it was.
Okay. All right. I thought it was 20-10. I'm wrong.
That wasn't that close. No, it was 34-20. It
was 20. It was 10 points when I went to bed. Okay.
Yeah.
20-10 when I went to bed. So that's all that counts. The rest of the game didn't matter.
Yeah. Fair enough. Now the Browns and Ravens even put up more than that just before that with the 33-31. Cleveland had been putting up significantly more points than the Steelers did. They're looking at a rookie quarterback not being able to move the ball, and he only scored 3 points. I'm kind of going to
go with the over on that. I think the Steelers will put up over 20 points.
Just in offense, and there's always the off chance that the defense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the over on that 32.5 and bet $0 of my money on that.
Bigger game, TJ Watt or Myles Garrett?
TJ Watt.
Bigger game, Alex Highsmith or Myles Garrett? Ooh, how biased am I going to be? Because I think Alex Highsmith could have a game too.
He could. He absolutely could. And Myles Garrett has been, look, let's be honest. Myles Garrett at some point is going to have a game against the Steelers. He hasn't really been a problem for them except for, trying to murder Mason Rudolph. But, other than that, that's it. I not because I'm going to tell you that I think Alex Highsmith is a better player than Myles Garrett. I'm not saying that. I think Alex Highsmith is a very, very, very good player. I don't think he's Myles Garrett, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has a better game.
Yeah. By the way, on that line, the under is a -102. You basically don't even want to bet that line because you wager $20 to win $19.61. Well,
that's dumb.
I know it's there's no and the 120 if you go with the over to get $16 and change. They're not very good bets. It's it's the same if you're taking points. The Steelers are getting 1.5. The Browns are giving 1.5. So it's the same line, 120 and 102. I know one person that'll bet that. He's not on the show. He will be back Monday. That flash.
Welcome back, Zach.
He's gonna stack some parlays for that one. So that'll do it for us, folks. We've stretched this out long enough, I think. I didn't want to do a very long show heading into the weekend, so thank you for those of you who did take time out of heading into this game on Sunday, 1 o'clock up in Cleveland. You watch or listen to the show. We appreciate our viewers and listeners. Thank you for supporting Steel City Underground. Till next time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we wish all of you well heading into what will be then Turkey Day and holiday coming up here. So till next time, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. We encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.